The Galactic Zenith Academy floated in the void between star systems, a monument to interspecies cooperation and learning. Here, the brightest minds from across 14 different civilizations gathered to study advanced science, diplomacy, and combat theory. Among the sleek Valorians with their crystalline skin, the four-armed Krell warriors, and the telepathic Sithini, to humans stood out like earth saplings in an alien forest. Sarah Martinez adjusted her datapad as she walked through the gleaming corridors of the combat simulation wing. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her brown eyes scanned the assignment on her screen with focused intensity. Behind her, Leo Chen matched her pace. His athletic frame relaxed despite the hostile stares they received from passing students. "You know they're planning something," Leo muttered, his voice low enough that only Sarah could hear. Sarah didn't look up from her datapad. "Let them plan. I'm more concerned about this theoretical xenobiology exam." The truth was, humans were new to the galactic community. When Earth had been contacted 3 years ago, the established civilizations had been unimpressed. Humans were physically weaker than Krell, slower than Valorians, and possessed no natural telepathy like the Sithini. In the grand hierarchy of galactic species, humanity ranked somewhere near the bottom. That ranking gnawed at many of the Academy's elite students, particularly a group led by Vexler, a Krell combat specialist whose family lineage traced back to legendary warriors. To him, the presence of humans at the Academy was an insult to tradition. The ambush came during evening training hours. Sarah had stayed late in the combat simulation chamber, practicing her reaction times against holographic opponents. The chamber was a massive spherical room where gravity could be adjusted, an environment simulated with perfect accuracy. She had just finished a desert warfare scenario when the doors sealed behind her. With a definitive hiss, 5 figures emerged from the observation deck above. Vexler and 4 of his cohorts, representing some of the most formidable warrior species in known space. "Human." Vexler's voice rumbled through his translator, his forearms flexing with barely contained aggression. "You do not belong here. This academy is for true warriors, not fragile creatures from backwater planets." Sarah straightened, her heart rate increasing, but her expression remaining calm. She'd been taught by her instructors back on Earth that fear was natural, but panic was a choice. "The Academy's admission board disagreed with your assessment," she replied evenly. One of Vexler's companions, a Valorian named Kresh, left a sound like grinding crystals. Bold words for someone who couldn't survive our homeworld's atmosphere for 10 minutes. They descended into the simulation chamber, forming a semicircle around her. The intention was clear. They would beat her in combat, record it, and use it as evidence that humans should be expelled from the Academy. What they didn't know was that Leo had noticed Sarah's extended absence. What they didn't know was that he had already alerted Academy security. And what they definitely didn't know was the one advantage humans possessed, that no other species in the galaxy had evolved. Humans were endurance predators. Sarah didn't charge. She didn't attempt a heroic stand. Instead, she ran. The chamber erupted in simulated terrain, canyons, forests, urban environments cycling at her command through voice activation. Her pursuers laughed at first, considering retreat proof of human cowardice. But as minutes turned to 15, then 30, their laughter faded. Krell were powerful, but their muscle density required enormous energy. Valorians were fast, but their crystalline biology overheated under sustained exertion. Sarah just kept running, her breathing controlled, her pace measured. She'd run marathons on Earth since she was 16. 45 minutes of evasion through varied terrain was barely a warm-up. Vexler was the first to collapse, his forearms trembling with exhaustion as his body demanded rest. Kresh followed, his crystalline skin fracturing from thermal stress. One by one, the others fell. Their bodies never evolved for persistence. When Academy security finally overrode the chamber locks, they found Sarah standing calmly in the center, barely winded, while her 5 attackers lay scattered across the simulated landscape. Completely spent. Leo stood at the entrance with the security team, a slight smile playing at his lips. "Told you she'd be fine." The aftermath was swift. Vexler and his group faced disciplinary action, but more importantly, word spread throughout the Academy. The other species began to study human biology with newfound interest. They discovered that what humans lacked in raw power or speed, they compensated for with unparalleled endurance, adaptability, and something the galactic community was only beginning to understand: relentless determination. In the Academy's social hierarchy, humans were no longer dismissed. 3 months later, Sarah stood before the entire student body during the Academy's quarterly assembly. She had been selected to present her research on comparative combat strategies. As she walked to the podium, students from 14 different species watched with respect rather than contempt. Leo sat in the front row, grinning as Sarah began her presentation with a quote from an ancient Earth philosopher: "The race is not always to the swift, nor the battle to the strong." She paused, making eye contact with Dexler, who sat in the back, his posture considerably more humble than before. "But that's the way to bet," she continued. "Unless you're human. We've learned to win differently." The chamber filled with the varied sounds of alien appreciation clicks, harmonics, and even a few hesitant attempts at applause from species that were still learning the human gesture. In the vast cosmic arena, humanity had found its niche not through dominance, but through the same trait that had carried them across African savannas millions of years ago: the simple, stubborn refusal to stop moving forward. The Academy had learned its lesson. Never corner a human. They won't fight like warriors. They'll fight like humans. And in the end, that might just be more terrifying. The end.